Hello, everyone. This panel is going to be on East Asia disruptive technology investments. We're joined here by two leaders of the disruptive technology community. Michael is based in Seoul, Korea, and Jehan is currently in Lisbon, but generally sitting in Hong Kong. So excited to have this esteemed panelist and to hear their perspectives. You guys want to start by just introducing yourselves and your backgrounds?
Sure, go ahead, Michael.
Me first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I'm the Michael Hwang, the CEO of the Bigbang, which is sort of a top accelerator and seed stage investors in Korea. We've invested more than 100 seed stage startups in 9 years. Recently, we started the venture fund powered by the Jehan Bank, which is the #1 bank in Korea and in Vietnam. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for having me to discuss about this great agenda. Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. And Jehan?
Sure, Jehan Chu, I'm the managing partner and founder of Kenetic. Kenetic is one of the earliest and most active blockchain investors in Asia. I started in the space around late 2013, started the Ethereum meetup, helped to start the Bitcoin Association, and we've been investing as a firm since 2016, although I was investing before that. 2016 forward, we've done, until to date, we've done over 200 investments, all in the areas of blockchain and crypto. Some of the projects that we've invested in that you might have heard of are seed investments in BlockFi, Parity, Polkadot, Solana, FTT or FTX, and many others. Pretty excited to see this kind of current generation of development. We're also very involved in NFTs. We've invested in, I think, 16 different NFT platforms and technologies, and I'm an active fine art NFT collector and Christie's global advisor.
Awesome. So just to start, I think let's provide some context into the East Asia landscape. What's unique about the East Asia landscape? Perhaps a significant value proposition about the East Asia landscape, and then chat about some disruptive technology opportunities that we're seeing. So Michael, when we you mentioned, it was you that brought this to my attention years ago, actually. I think it'll be interesting for the audience that Bigbang is public, privately funded. So the government is actually supporting.
Hello?
You froze, Michael. I think he's frozen. Michael, maybe you just want to go ahead and answer the question he was about to ask.
Maybe he want to ask me about what's going on in Korea, right? Michael, Gord, come back, please. Okay. I wanted to tell you about the reason the booming is going on in Korean listed exchange, the metaverse. You may heard about the metaverse is going on in the world, right? Absolutely, in Korea, the metaverse companies and virtual idol singers are hot. For example, Maxt, a metaverse themed company, recorded competition ratio of 3,000 to 1, which is the second highest in the history of stock subscriptions for Kosdaq listing this year. Kosdaq is a Korean exchange, right? And Maxis raised 6 billion just 1 week from retail investors for stock purchase reservations, right? Which means a lot of people wanted to invest in the metaverse themed startups. Since let me talk a little bit about the Maxis. Maxis is establishment in 2010. Maxis has been focusing on securing and localizing augmented reality technology. In addition, it is conducting industrial AI solution business with large domestic companies such as Hyundai, Samsung Electronics, or Daewoo Shipbuilding Company. They are recently concentrating on AR-based smart factory simulation software company. But let me add one sentence. Until now, this listed company has just 1 million revenue, which means, honestly speaking, we can call it the boom. We can call it the bubble, right? The point is, I believe that eventually this kind of metaverse themed startups or listed company could make a revenue eventually. 5 years later or 10 years later, 10 years later, I'm not sure, but absolutely, the point is, a lot of this kind of metaverse themed company is knocking the Korean exchange. That's kind of one story I wanted to share with you. Yeah, Michael, go. Are you come back?
No, I think he's
Again?
off. He's off again. But
yeah.
that's actually, I have a question. I'm super interested in this. So the retail investors who are buying the stocks, are they also participating in tokens? Like, is the bubble that's forming for these metaverse stocks, is it a proxy, or is it just the same crypto investors, or what's the dynamic? I'm curious, actually.
Maybe you mean that these retail investors are the same group or different group, right? Maybe I don't think these investors are the same group, which means some of them, in Korea, the government don't want to promote this kind of the investment boom, particularly for the blockchain-based tokens or something like that. But you may know that a lot of money is coming by into the blockchain space too in Korea, right? Upbit, global exchange, blockchain exchange, and another exchanges getting a lot of money too, just for the the blockchain tokens investment too, right? Michael Gord, please.
No, that's super interesting. That's really interesting. Interesting. So on my side, at least, so being based in Hong Kong, we're kind of slightly closer to the whole kind of China side of things, and the kind of what's happening in China, I think, is as interesting, maybe in different ways. Right now, what's happening in China is that crypto is basically dead once and for all.
Yeah, I wanted to hear about that.
Yeah, so China, I mean, China
is it really dead?
It's really dead. It's really dead.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it will be for a while. But we've kind of been anticipating this because China has always wanted to, just tighten up and really choke off public crypto because they really don't like it. And I think this is really the final, the final cut.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that one of our portfolio companies is a company called Red Date Technologies, and we co-invested with Saudi Aramco and Pictet Bank. So it's pretty, legitimate company. Red Date Technologies is actually the architect of something called the BSN, the Blockchain-Based Services Network. And that's China's national blockchain initiative infrastructure. So it's not a blockchain itself, but what it is like an ecosystem for interoperability. It's kind of like AWS for blockchain.
Kind of an infrastructure solution company, right?
Yeah, because China has the CBDC, their ECNY, but then the other side is actually what we're ostensibly investing in, which is the BSN. Now, this BSN is really going, from our perspective, is really going to be the main infrastructure layer in China, but also outside of China that they're promoting. But to give you a sense of how important this is, the owners of the BSN are like China Mobile, which is China's largest telecom, China UnionPay, which is China's largest kind of payments provider, and something called the State Information Center, which is it's a branch of one of the largest ministries in China. So Huawei is also in the network, Tencent and Financial all participating in this network now. So it's really like the de facto, infrastructure for blockchain in China. So that's the base layer. And then one of the kind of side layers of this project is something called the Open Permissioned Blockchain System, the OPB. And this is really where I think the future of crypto in China is. So public crypto is dead, but permissioned crypto is actually being, I would say, the path for public chains in China. And so the Open Permission Blockchain Network allows public chains to launch legally and compliantly in China, but they have to abide, of course, as you imagine, by Chinese rules. And so blockchain, it's a private chain. It's a private version or a permission version of the public chain, which of course, some people are really going to hate. But what it does do is it abstracts out the public token. So there's no free floating token. You can only use like the token for gas. You can't transfer between people. So that will cut the speculation and that will cut the free floating token. But what it does do is it allows dApps from outside of China to basically launch their dApps inside of China, find customers, even work with governments. So you can even work with government agencies and have them use your dApp. It's just that you can't have a free floating token and you have to have a permissioned aspect to it, and you'll be on a permissioned chain. So it's a very Chinese way of like looking at the ecosystem. And again, while decentralization maximalists and public chain maximalists will really hate this, the fact is that China has always been about kind of controlling its technology infrastructure, and this is the path that they've laid out for blockchain, which is still pretty exciting in my mind. So that's what's happening in China.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Oh, you can. Okay, great. Well, Jehan and Michael, thank you for. I don't know if I could have even moderated as well as just listening to you guys talking. And I've got to say, I have not thought about the BSN network in a while, so it's cool. I wouldn't have thought about bringing that up. What's the status of that actually at market? Because I remember when it was coming to market, they were planning to be in basically every country of the historical Silk Road, with like 15 countries or so basically required to be turning it on. I wonder the status.
Yeah, I mean, with the current, so there's actually two networks. There's BSN, which is domestic China, and then there's BSNI, which is international. So the domestic China one is actually growing extremely quickly. There's really large projects happening in a number of provinces. I think there's 9 or 10 provinces who have active BSN projects, and I don't mean just like they're doing a POC. I mean, they've written BSN into their 3-year infrastructure plan for blockchain development, and what that means is that any blockchain development they do must be on the BSN. So this is really being written into the infrastructure and the fabric of China. But that's just internally. So internally, it's, in my mind, it's probably 70-80% a foregone conclusion that this is the technical infrastructure layer for blockchain in China forever. Not 100% yet, but maybe 70-80%. The BSNI side, I think, especially with the current kind of political temperature, especially with all the rhetoric and real action between the US and China, it's gone slower. The BSNI is intended to be a neutral, open source. It will be open sourced within 3 years. Platform to basically accomplish the same types of things, lower the cost of blockchain development, as well as provide interoperability between public and private chains. So imagine you can switch through you can switch from like R3 to like Polkadot, like that type of thing will be much easier. And they're also so that they're also basically going to staff the entire foundation, which will be in Singapore, which is in Singapore actually. With no Chinese entities or parties. So the entire organization will be internationally governed and internationally run. So it really is intended to be like an international platform. But the fact is that, what you do and what you look like are two different things. And the BSNI for sure will suffer from being painted as a Chinese project, because the technology was developed in China, but it's open source, so there's no way you can have like backdoors or anything like that. So it'll be interesting to see how this evolves. My guess is that eventually some project from the US will be promoted as a counterpoint to the BSN, but I still think that the BSN International will get a lot of traction in developing world and with kind of China's partners. So it'll be interesting to see.
Let me have questions. Maybe let's say there is some Korean DApp companies. If they wanted to have a business in China, maybe they have to adopt or they have to develop based on the BSN technology, or their DApp could co-work with BSN infrastructure.
Yeah,
is
correct.
It anyway, right?
So if you're a Korean company, let's say that you're a Korean DApp on, I don't know, like on Ethereum.
Game company, right?
If you're a game
blockchain-based game, right?
You're a blockchain-based game company on Ethereum. You will need to launch your application on the Ethereum version, which is called the OPE, Open Permissioned Ethereum. So it's exact copy of Ethereum, except that the nodes are whitelisted, and you cannot transfer Ethereum from wallet to wallet. You can only use Ethereum from your wallet for gas. So again, if the lane is open for Korean companies, gaming companies, to launch for Chinese audiences, but increasingly it will be more constricted public chain. Like they won't be able to really operate publicly on public chain inside of China, because the Chinese users will not be able to use the DApp.
Yeah, right. Even the publicly, they cannot use any kind of the Ethereum-based wallet or anything, right?
Can't. That's why crypto is really dead this time in China. So that's going to. I don't think the whole world quite understands the extent to which crypto is being cracked down, but it's really being choked off. Public crypto is being choked off. So I think that the sooner applications understand and embrace this permissioned future. And to be fair, it's actually kind of an interesting proposition. I mean, I think decentralization maximalists will look at it and say, oh, well, it's just a database. And it goes against the tenets of kind of decentralization in terms of security, in terms of uncensorability, et cetera. And that's true, but that's not what China is. Like that's never what they've wanted. And this is just, it's like if you're in China, if you want to go to China and you want to use internet, you're going to be behind the firewall. So if you don't want to go to China, that's also your choice.
Sorry, can I hear you? Please type it.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on. What do you think about what's happening in the rest of Asia? Are you guys, so you've invested in do you only invest in Korea, or do you invest everywhere else?
Oh, from this year we are investing in the Singapore startups too.
Oh, nice.
Because I wanted to invite them. Not quite blockchain actively, but honestly, recently we are looking at the startups related with metaverse or even NFT too, because the NFT looks like another content-based startups, right? I was the expert in the media business in Korea. I was the initial early stage investors of Rising Comics, which is number one, the webtoon platform company.
Oh yeah,
you may heard about webtoon, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and Rising Comics revenue is more than 50 million by just selling the webtoon in their app, right?
Yeah.
But my success case of Rising Comics is the best well-known exit case in Korea. I made a 80x return in this my investment. Anyway,
which investment was Webtoon?
Yeah, Webtoon platform.
Great.
Yeah, manga online platform, manga app, right?
Are you familiar with Collect? KOLLECT?
KOLLECT?
Yeah, it's also manga. Anyway, sorry. Yeah, keep going.
Anyway, which means recently I'm looking at another, the content style startups and solution company too. This year, we are also looking at the cyber character or digital human technology, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, digital human beings, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you may heard about that. Even the SM Entertainment, which is the number one, the K-pop agency, is investing in the virtual character-based singer, right?
Wow.
They are producing the virtual character-based
And
singer already.
are these all going to be NFTs?
Not based on the NFT, but point is, SM Entertainment is launching the singer based on the virtual character.
Sure.
Globally, right? Which means there must be a lot of opportunity for the technology company too. There was a commercial for the TV. By inviting the cyber character, right? Even the consumer does not know that the character in the commercial is the cyber character.
Interesting.
They didn't know that. They cannot recognize it, right?
So do you think that, I mean, what are the best ways for investors to, participate, especially in the blockchain? So I find this fascinating. What's the best way for me to kind of participate in this? I mean, is this something which is specific to Korea, or do you think that this phenomenon of blockchain-based virtual character, an IP will soon kind of spread out to the rest of Asia and the US timeline?
Honestly, I'm not sure, but point is I believe that the NFT-based approach will make some impact. Anyway, you may heard about the Clayton, right? Which is the subsidiary of Kakao, right? The Clayton is also investing in a lot of the NFT-based approach, NFT-based bank or NFT-based artist marketplace and something like that. Maybe I believe that there could be a kind of a new startup who are working with a kind of a the cyber character NFT based business, right? I'm not sure which will be the first learner, right?
It's interesting. So you have these kind of on your side, you have these pure digital characters. So one of our portfolio companies is called Render, RNDR. And Render, what they do is their parent company is famous for doing all of the graphics for like Game of Thrones and Avengers Endgame. They do all the 3D rendering. Yeah. And so like they're backed by J.J. Abrams, who is the director of Star Wars and all this stuff. One of their projects is called Light Stage. And Light Stage it's actually a 3D scanning, full body scanning type of thing. Where they do all these stars and they'll just do these extremely high resolution scans of them for digitization. So I think it's super interesting to see how, you'll have digital versions of actual stars and, who will increasingly be creating content, virtual content. Then you're having all these kind of digitally native, digitally virtual stars who aren't real people, but only exist. What about the metaverse? What are the popular metaverses that are being supported in Korea? Like, is it like Decentraland and Sandbox? Like, where do people go, and where do you see metaverse?
As for my sort of metaverse, it is clear that in Korea, metaverse is currently very big bubble, right? For example, there is one company called Giant Step, which have a same business model as you mentioned before, right? They went public this year, March anyway, on Kosdaq in March of this year. The starting price, their listed starting price was $10, right? But in 6 months, the price increased sevenfold to $70. 7x, right? Just in 6 months. The point is, as I mentioned before, right? It's a crazy story, right? Their valuation is more than the $600 million, right? Honestly speaking, I believe that it sounds like another big bubbles. The point is, this kind of a technology company will try to a new business model, new service, including the cyber character based, whatever. Or, you mentioned before, cities shaped the character or singers or, the influencers. Even you may heard about that, the MG generation's YouTuber influencers is trying to this technology.
Yeah.
Right? Which means even some new startup is trying to build a kind of a platform. In this platform, the YouTubers, right? YouTube influencers can make a very easy way to the kind of to be the virtual character, right? Right?
Interesting.
Anyway, yeah, there are a lot of new kind of way to be the cyber influencers.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. How about like on the so Michael is saying that I should ask you about the AAA network. What's the AAA network?
Yeah, it's my kind of a my partners, the kind of a online community.
Okay.
We are the city-based venture capital or investors. We wanted to share our portfolios company. I believe that some Korean company wanted to get into the China market, and I will introduce this Korean startup to you if they want to come to the China. Maybe you could help them, and each member's portfolio.
Got it. So it's like for venture. It's for like venture
association, right? Venture capitals association, right? Basically.
Yeah, but I mean, so this happens like very informally among, at least for us, like we collaborate with a lot of funds, but it's mostly on like a personal basis, right? So it's just like I know a guy and I'm friends with him and I like him, so we share deals. And but for you, so you're kind of formalizing it into a structure.
Yeah, I wanted to
share. You share economics.
Yeah, I wanted to make a more online platform to share the portfolio steer between members.
Got it. Cool. And Michael's saying that it's because it's supported by the government. It's also very unique.
Yeah, because you may heard about that Korean the central government and local government is spending more than 2 billion just for the supporting this kind of deep tech startups or early stage startups. Annually basis, about 1 billion and 2 billion is spending to support the startups and accelerator and early stage investors too. Even some of this money is supporting for the startups who have to go out, who have to have a global business, which means these startups, Korean government wanted to have the global startup. Global startup means Korean startup who have to and who want to go out from Korea to China and all over the world.
Right. Interesting. Cool.
Recently, I wanted to have the China startup and global startup or Singapore startup who wanted to go to the Korea.
No, super interesting. Cool. What else do you want to talk about, Michael?
Michael Gord, please lead us.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of interesting things that are happening. Let's see. I don't hear much about Japan, so I don't know much about what's going on in Japan. As far as I think Singapore is still pretty active, and I think that it's become like a really with everything that's happening in China. I think Hong Kong has probably maybe become slightly less attractive than versus as it used to be, because there really is a lot of, I would say from a regulatory standpoint, it's becoming tighter, not related to China, but just related to like Hong Kong virtual assets and stuff. So I think that Singapore is becoming a lot more attractive, and we see a lot more people thinking about setting up companies in Singapore. But I still maintain generally that, like, especially with everything that's happening in India, and don't get me wrong, there's a ton of investment in China. It's just that it's not public chain. I still think that investing in Asia makes the most sense, because it really, in my mind, is the driver. It has the most adoption of blockchain technology, and I still think that it has the lion's share of kind of trade volume, et cetera. So for me, I still think that Asia offers a really great arbitrage and really good opportunities for investment. How are you thinking about it?
In view of Korean investors, particularly the blockchain related, we need to have a kind of a connection in Singapore too. You already know that there are a lot of kind of a regulation in blockchain space in Korea, right? But the point is, until now, they didn't ban in the blockchain trading or blockchain investment, right? Korean government didn't ban anything in investment in blockchains, but they don't want to have the help of this kind of investment, which means if the one company wanted to do a business more actively in blockchain space, they have to have the entity in Singapore and and do a business in Korea, which means we need to leverage the Singapore and Korea market and structure too.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, awesome. Well, Michael, it's been great chatting with you. Glad that we could kind of connect on things around Asia, and too bad that Michael's connection wasn't working well, but yeah, super interesting points. I'm definitely going to check out more about the metaverse kind of activity, and hopefully there's ways that we can invest deeper in this space.
Please connect by the LinkedIn too.
Yeah, for sure. Let's exchange more notes and more deals. So awesome. Good to meet you. Thanks for
Good to meet you.